S11E36. That's all we need.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Tigers Down Under. Still going. We still have a few more games left in us. And with me this week, I've got Dill. How are you, Dill?
Good. How you doing?
Very, very good. And I've also got Dan. How are you, Dan?
Yeah, look, pretty good. It's hard not to be in a good mood when you're in the playoffs, when you make the top six. So.
Yeah,
it feels
no
right.
doubt. I'll throw to you first, Dill. How was the night? How was the roller coaster of emotions that was final day for you?
Yeah, it was good. What time was the game? It was like 9 p.m., 9:30 or whatever it was, and I'd already been out, already had like a bottle of wine with my partner, and so by the time like settling into this, it was it was a good game. It was a lot of fun, and I'm just really glad that we sort of came home with it. I knew that we were. I knew we were going to win this one, and it always spells like this. Always gets spelled out for us. So yeah, excited and stoked and keen for. I think it's 5 a.m. Saturday. Actually, yeah, we don't have to. Yep.
5
no
a.m.
doubt.
Saturday, 5 a.m. Is it Tuesday or Monday?
Saturday,
Yeah.
Tuesday.
Saturday, Tuesday, yeah. Dan, how about for you? I mean, I shot through to the chat beforehand, the final day of 2012-13, which was probably the craziest final day I could remember. And I think this just about rivaled it, just sort of the, different teams taking the lead and positions just changed into every possible combination. At what point did you think, like, we're actually going to do this now?
I think it's probably once we got ahead. Like I feel like it was sort of the sort of remit going into that final game was just we just have to win. Obviously, like mathematically or whatever, like with the goal difference, technically, like to defy all other results, we need to win by more than Wrexham. So we needed to win by 2 basically, or 3 or 4 depending on how many Wrexham if they had won. But I think we all recognise there was some pretty tough fixtures for Wrexham and Derby in those last couple of on that final day, and that realistically probably just getting the win, getting the 3 points was probably going to be enough. So I think once we got ahead, and then you sort of looked at the other results as well, and you went, well, they're drawing, they're losing, or whatever. It's sort of it. I think I felt pretty comfortable at that point that we'd be able to just sort of hold on and keep going. I think it was certainly a bit of a wild ride. I think I said in our chat that it almost felt like cliche FIFA dialogue lines, like that were getting repeated out because it was like almost every 5 or 10 minutes the commentators were going, at the moment, like such and such, Derby's in 6th and Hull, we're 7th here and Wrexham's in 8th because they're losing to Middlesbrough. But if they score a goal, then they're going to go jump up to 6th and and it just like recycle. And I just kept hearing it. It was actually getting a little bit annoying. I kind of wish, like, I kind of just wanted to just focus on the game that we were playing. I really actually wasn't interested in looking at the other scores or checking them or whatever. Because because it was, if we won, it was probably going to be enough. So I don't know. It was probably the first game in a while where the emotion got the better of me and I was up out of my chair and fist pumping and yelling in the lounge room while the family was asleep. So I have to show a lot more strength normally not to wake up the babies, but got the better of me.
I had a 5 a.m. start the next day for a half marathon and thought, I can't. Well, first of all, I didn't think we were on beIN Sports, so I was like, I can't watch a replay after I run because my original plan was go for the run, stay spoiler free, and watch Hull after the run. And then when I thought, we're not on beIN, I was like, it's only a 9:30 kickoff. I'll be able to watch that and then get to sleep for the run. And yeah, the adrenaline and everything at full time, there was no chance. I think I ended up getting about 3 hours sleep for the night. But I was the opposite. I actually found myself unable to focus on the whole game. I was just watching the clock tick by on the Wrexham game because for me, I didn't think that we were going to do it until that game hit full time. And then I was very confident we'd hold on because it just, with Wrexham, I'm just like, it just felt like in my gut that there was always going to be that last minute, 94th minute goal for Wrexham to put them in the lead. So I was a bit worried when in hindsight, McBurney said that, he thought they just had to get the win and that would be enough. And I was like, I mean, Wrexham very easily could have, well, not easily, but they could have scored. And then if we're sitting there just sort of ambling around, keeping a 2-1 lead when we need a third goal would have been, a little bit frustrating. But yeah, I think Panda catching that ball from that corner and you just get that relief and that excitement. It was very awesome.
I think they had something like 7 corners as well, which we didn't have that many. So every single corner that they had, it's just wild.
It's just wild. Yeah, we got Josh in the chat saying, if we make Wembley, will you be flying over? There have been legitimate discussions and exploring potential avenues of flying over. I think I've asked my wife. It was funny, actually. I asked my boss on, he's a big Man United supporter, and I said to him, "Oh, look, I'm having conversations with the wife about flying over to the game," and he said, "Oh, have you asked your boss yet? He might not let you go over." And I said, "I think the wife's the harder one to convince than the boss," and he agreed, but. I think I will be watching it from Cheers Bar in Sydney if we're to make it. I'm hoping it's a midnight kickoff because I think they're normally a 3 p.m. game over there. But there might be some members of Tigers Down Under who'll make the trip over. We'll have to see how that semi-final goes. Let's talk the game itself then, and maybe I'll start with you, Dan. I think like the lineups came out. It was a pretty strong lineup. Like I think it's just about the best lineup that we could name for a game like this. You know, Joseph arguably comes in somewhere, but can't complain about the balance in the side. And it was a bit of a mixed start. It didn't feel like we really took it to Norwich to start the game, but kind of came into it after that goal.
Yeah, it was kind of almost just a replica of all of the games of late. We sort of didn't really do too much until we went a goal behind, and then I don't know, got the sort of kick into gear. I think it kind of felt like, I think earlier in the season, it felt like when, it was mid-season and there wasn't this sort of pressure of making the top 6, we were just doing whatever. It felt like we were willing to go out on the front foot and try and get an early goal and then try and blow a team away. And then I think like as we got closer and closer to the end and the possibility of playoffs became more and more real, the tactics became more and more conservative, and we began going, well, let's just not concede an early goal, and then we'll try and nick one, and it sort of didn't really work for one. And then I think that was the same thing. It was that, I guess, like to mirror like what McBurney said was like we just have to win. And so I think they went out and they went, we don't have to rush this. We can just like ease ourselves into the game, build some, try and get ball, build it up, get some opportunities, and we'll score. But Norwich was for a team that was playing for nothing, was very, very, apart from pride or momentum or whatever, I guess like you got like Toure and a few guys that were playing for World Cup spots and things, but like they came out very, very aggressive and very, very hungry and very, very dominant. And I think obviously Toure's goal really well taken. Very cheeky little chip through the middle of the defense, but they looked the much better side pretty much. Well, I mean, I was going to say pretty much until they scored the goal, because then we went like straight up the other end of the field and won a penalty. Which
I was just going to say, Dill,
another set of wild circumstances.
I was going to say, Dill, to score so like literally instance after they scored, I think was, it reminded me a little bit of the Sheff Wednesday game where we went behind and then got the equaliser almost straight afterwards, and it felt as if that gave us a little bit more momentum to go on with it. But did you were you a bit concerned, I suppose, with, as Dan says, I guess the conservative way that we were playing to start that game, or what was your sense of like how much we were really taking it to Norwich?
Yeah, it didn't seem like, I don't know, there wasn't a lot of sparks, but it seemed quite, I guess, level between the two. And then when Toure sort of got through, I almost missed the penalty because I sort of got up and was like, oh, fuck's sake. Gotta go. Went and got another beer, and then like I heard the whistle. It was like, oh, wait. And then, yeah, when Oli got it, yeah, we're back on. And I don't know. I think we looked good after that. And I think we've been pretty good this season compared to other seasons where being able to sort of claw back some results. But yeah, and as soon as we got that, the last goal, I was pretty set on just like, we just got to ride it out. And I think everyone did a really good job with that. But yeah, sort of trying to think of sort of what we were like heading into halftime. But yeah, I don't know. I think we just looked solid sort of right after we scored.
And that second goal was onside. I mean, I think when you look at it in the first instance, it looks like he's offside, but then you get the slightly different angle where you see that back heel is basically playing onside. I think Sky Sports actually came out and said that it was confirmed onside because I think there's a bit of a question mark about that. There's that potential penalty at the end of the game as well. You ride your luck a little bit with that, but we've had luck go against us, had a few iffy calls go against us. So I think it all panned out pretty well.
Yeah, it all sort of equals itself out. And look, I had no doubt in my mind that was onside. Always looked onside. It was always going to be. Yeah, no, it was great. I'm just stoked for it.
And Dan, just before the goal, we've got Dal and Joseph on the pitch. I mean, I know you, again, sort of a bit underwhelmed by Dal. I've actually seen some positive comments, and to be honest, it's probably a reflection on the fact that I need to go back and actually probably watch that second half rather than staring at that 2-2 Wrexham Borough scoreline for most of that second half as I did. But a few comments saying that, Dal at least had a bit more control of the ball. He was able to give us a bit more tempo because it did feel like in that first half we were rushing with the ball. We were looking for those through balls or taking wild shots, but it felt a little bit more in that second half that we controlled the tempo a little bit more.
Yeah, I think I am fairly critical of Dow. I don't think over the course of his time here he's really shown that much. But I did to his credit, I think there were a few important interventions. Like defensively as well, I think he put in a bit of a shift against Norwich when he came on. He worked hard. I didn't really see that much that really still could. I still wasn't overly convinced because I'm across whatever it is, the 6 months across whatever it is, 10 or 12 appearances or whatever he's made. There's maybe been 45 minutes of good football from him in all that time. I'm not that sold overall, but if in the last couple of games he can have come on and have an impact like he did against Norwich, then the more power to him and more power to us, I suppose. That's what you want players to be able to come on and have an impact. And if he didn't before, maybe he maybe he does now. Maybe he's built up whatever it is, fitness or form or connection or whatever he needs that he's or maybe Sergei's just giving him a bit of extra love. I don't know, but I think the subs made a difference. I think it was the first time in a long time where Balumi looked very average, to be honest. He really didn't look like he could actually have much impact on the game, despite that being the comment that was made about him, that he could change a game in an instant a few times in the call. It just wasn't really happening for him.
Looked leggy
in that game. So I don't know. I guess everyone has their moment. I think it was it's good to see Joseph get on the park a bit. Did what he does, runs around, works hard. I don't it's just you look at I think the reason that he's not in the starting 11 is because you look at Miller and Balumi as examples. They have that little bit more class, a little bit more technique, a little bit more pace and that sort of stuff. And Joseph's, he's just a grafter and a grinder. And when he comes on, he'll work up, he'll run himself into the ground for you. But you kind of already have, you got McBurney who kind of is doing the same job, and you've got Slater as another example, who's in the middle, who's doing the same sort of thing, who's just going to run and work their socks off. And while obviously everyone in the team needs to work, you kind of need a little bit of fairy dust, a little bit of magic sprinkled amongst all your draft horses. So I feel for Joseph, because I think he's performed and well enough to be starting games, but he's also just amongst a squad where there's just some really high quality players in the positions that he could occupy.
Yeah, well, I'll talk more about Joseph with the Milwall preview, because I think his form against Milwall in both games does start to ask the question of whether, some players just seem to raise their levels against certain teams. I know his dad's a Milwall supporter as well, so maybe there's something in that. Last question before we do the votes. I was just going to ask both of you, because obviously at the full time we saw supporters invaded the pitch celebrating the fact that we made the playoffs. There's a few people who've sort of claimed that that's a little bit tin pot. I would argue that given where we've come from last season and the expectations on us, or the lack of expectation on us, and all of the barriers that have come our way this season, I think, and also even just the nature of, I think if we were already in the playoffs coming into final day and it was just, playing out the last game of the season, I don't think there would have been a pitch invasion. I think almost the nature of getting in almost against the odds with Wrexham slipping up, so to speak, I think a pitch invasion was fine. I think it was a real sort of outpouring of emotion and excitement. Dill, what was your take on it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think we earned it. Wow, it's funny sort of seeing some discourse with us potentially missing the 6 and people sort of not calling for your head, but sort of got to remember oh my god, this is where we came from. We came from a very similar team. We've had not a lot of not a lot of financial, not stability, but we can't do the transfers that the way that other teams can, and I just think sort of to see where we've come from over this whole season, maybe it was the right idea to sort of go down the way that Ajun to go with all these different managers. But I'm just really sort of excited to see that everyone's sort of getting into it. And I can't remember what the stat was for teams who enter the playoffs at 6th and how well they end up going to do. But I don't know. I think
Blackpool in 2010 was the last one to get promoted.
And we're out here to break records again. So,
hey, we've got a 100% record in the playoffs. We've never not gone up when we've been in the playoffs. So there's a good stat. Dan, what was your take on the pitch invasion?
It doesn't bother me. I think here's my thing is had Wrexham been the one to finish 6th, they would have done it, and it would have been probably fine, because it's the Hollywood fairy tale so I just don't understand three teams fighting, any of those 3 teams, Derby or Wrexham or Hull or us, we're all, I think, entitled to have got in that position to finish 6th, and then being overjoyed and jubilant and excited about that that position, because of how crazy that final day was. And I think particularly with, as sort of Dill said, with our position and the context of the season and what we've contended with throughout the year, I think I don't see the problem with it really.
This time last year it was, we needed, was it Luton to win by a bunch or draw? Luton to and now look at us.
Yeah. I saw the stat that this is our 15th best league season in our history. So out of 122 years, it's our 15th best league finish, which is kind of remarkable when you think about it. It's in the top 10% essentially of all City seasons. So you kind of think if you can't get excited in this sort of situation, when can you get excited? You've got to take the joy when it comes, for sure. I'll start with you, Dill, then. Who are your votes for this game?
I'm going to go 3 points for Slater. think he's just a workhorse. Has been this season. Like compared to last season, I think he was sort of losing his form a little bit, but really excited for him. I'm gonna go Ollie because obviously everything, and he's also just been someone that we've needed this whole season. And let's go Pandor because that final catch is just worth probably a few points in itself.
Love it. I had McBurney for the 3 votes just because I had to with the 2 goals. But it was a very close one for me with him and Slater, who I gave the 2 votes to. I thought, he's just everything we've been missing in midfield. His energy, his dynamism. It's kind of crazy when you think at the start of the season he was 5th choice or something in that midfield, and he's clearly now, our most important midfielder. Almost by a straight.
That happens every season too, where we'll get to we've spoken about that before, where get to the start of the season and we get a bunch of transfers or whoever, and it's like, oh well, where's Slater going to fit in? And by the end of it, he's number 1.
Yeah, no doubt. And then the 1 vote was probably to the other midfielder you could kind of put in that ballpark of Crooks, who almost missed the game because I think he had a head knock in the warm up, but his style of play, he just sort of lopes around the field and, he'll just spray these amazing balls across the pitch or link up, a pass from defence into a wide position for a Balumi or a Miller or someone like that. Just makes everything look quite effortless. Sometimes you kind of want him to have a little bit more effort because sometimes he kind of gets bypassed, but I thought he had a terrific game and was a really important player for us as well.
He's a
how about you, Dan?
lazy player.
Oh.
I was just going to say he's a very lazy player, but in a good way, because he'll just
in a good way. Yeah, he just makes everything look so casual, for sure. What about you, Dan?
So I couldn't look past Ollie for the 3. I just think, one, he worked so hard, and then a bit of a cheeky penalty, and then a well taken finish for the second. 2 points. I'm going to go to Panda. I think he actually played the game really well. There wasn't much, there's nothing he could really do about the goal that he conceded. And I think, generally the game management, time management, when to slow, when to speed it up, I think was really good. And there's probably a blanket that I could throw over a bunch of players to give 1 to. And despite my reluctance to rate him out, conversation you've had with me earlier, I'm going to give a point to Kieran Dow.
Oh, there you go. I love it. Love that he gets a little token vote. We can throw him on the player of the season points tally. No, good stuff. Okay, well, we get to pinch ourselves now because we're talking about a playoff campaign. I said in the chat, it's very appropriate that the very first season of the podcast was previewing the playoffs of the 2015-2016 season under Steve Bruce. And the final season will be another playoff campaign, which is quite crazy. Friday night, Saturday morning, our time, 5 a.m., first leg, and then Tuesday morning, 5 a.m., second leg. Home leg first up. Millwall's an interesting one. I think Milwall is almost the team that I've been wanting to get in the playoffs out of almost anyone because of the fact that we just seem to have matched up so well over them across the season. We beat them 3-1 at their place early in the season. Joseph with 2 very well taken goals. McBurney with 1 off the bench. And it could have been them at home as well. I think we created something like 3 XG in the home game, but then had that seemingly perfectly reasonable Joseph goal ruled out because of the McBurney foul on the keeper for whatever reason. That would have put us 2-1 up and went on to lose at 3-1 despite hitting the post a number of times. So you kind of look at those 2 games and think, really, it's on the balance of play, it's 2 games that we've actually performed really well in. And actually, to your point earlier, Dan, my only reservation would be if we do have that more conservative approach to the game as we've seemingly done recently, rather than really just saying to the players, it's a 2-legged game. It's a home leg first. The home atmosphere is amazing for the Norwich game. Go out there, get in their faces and take something, take a lead that we can take down to London to finish them off. I'll start with you, Dill. How are you feeling heading into the first leg, and what approach would you want to see us take?
I'm feeling good. about this. I think just come out with all guns blazing in the home game, and yeah, like you're saying, sort of ride the wave of what we just got with Norwich, the Norwich game, and I think that's probably the approach that a lot of people go for. At least, maybe, I can't see us being too tactical for this, other than just to, if we can get a few goals, that'd be awesome, and then just like sort of bunker down with that. But then the second game, we've always had a pretty good away form. I think against Millwall and just other teams in general. So I thought we've got a bit of luck on our side with that, and so hopefully we can take it to them in London. And it's good. It's a cat fight as well.
Yeah, and
so.
I think our strong away form does. Like I think I said, as long as we don't lose that first leg by, call it 2 goals, 3 goals sort of thing, I think we're a live chance no matter what happens going to London, because I think you'd back us with our away form to still have a good chance of getting a result at Milwall.
Do we bring out the black kit for the away game?
Yeah, what did we wear when we were down there? Did we just wear our home kit? I can't remember now.
I can't remember, but I know maybe not last season, the season before, just like how good our away form was, that we started like, maybe we should just wear.
Oh, that's right. We're the away kit at home. Yeah.
The away kit, sorry, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a good shout. Dan, how are you feeling heading into these games? I guess, when you consider that the alternative might have been a matchup against an Ipswich, I think Millwall is a much more appealing opponent for us.
Yeah, look, I think I'm pretty excited. I think, as you say, we matched up pretty well. I think, across the 2 games, a 3-1 win and a 3-1 loss. Some factors in the second game that sort of affect the result, but I'm pretty excited. I think, you look at some of the obviously people are finding whatever stats they can, and so they're looking at our head-to-head against the other playoff teams, and we've got we've got the best result against the other teams that are in the playoffs at the moment. My concern is whether we will take the handbrake off. I feel like Jurkovic is really feeling the pressure and the pinch to sort of succeed in this sort of a, like, with all this pressure now. And then I think, like, I'm a little bit concerned that we're just going to try and probably limp through the home leg and take a draw or something, and not like push too much, and then sort of be leaving it to that second leg, where I think if we get a full, as you say, like, we'll have a full house there at MKM, and like, if we can go out and get the crowd behind get the crowd behind them and get a couple of goals, like, then I think we could actually basically just about wipe the tie out if we can perform at kind of the way we were 2 months ago, where we went on that big run and we had the best form in the league, and and then we lost, and then it just sort of all capitulated, and we couldn't get couldn't get points basically in consecutive games. But we have the squad. We've seen the squad, what they can do throughout the season. It's just trying to get them back to that level. Hopefully now, when it's we've just got these 2 games and we just have to go out and do whatever we can, then Jurkovic does just sort of let the handbrake off and just say, go and play, get at them, get some goals, do what you can. And if it's not working, then sort of, if we cop a goal, cop another, and look like it's going to be real bad, then adjust tactics as we go or something. But I'm confident that they'll be great games anyway, I think.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, I sort of hope that potentially that pressure or that tension to get results and to grind things out was almost with that stress of making the playoffs in mind, and that potentially now that we've made the playoffs, that pressure is almost off the shoulders, and it's not a free hit because it's such a big opportunity to get to the Premier League, but it's more of a we've made it no matter what. We're a playoff team. We've sort of had that success, and now it's a chance to sort of reset and reassess our ambition and our expectations on ourselves. Thinking back on sort of what changed in the second half of the season, I almost look back at that game up at Middlesbrough where we went and ground out a 0-1 win, and I almost wonder if that was the game that's made Jurkovic think that in these tough games against top 6 opponents, just go out there, grind out a 0-0 draw or a 1-0 win, and see if we can win things that way. Because I agree, I think you look back at that first half of the season and some of the performances we put in, and I think Friday night you have Giles in from the start, you have Miller in from the start, McBurney, Bellumi as well, Slater in midfield. I think that there's so much energy in that side that I'd really want to see us going out there, attacking and getting in Millwall's faces. And you get a couple of goals on the board early in a 2-legged tie, that can make all the difference. Because if Millwall are down sort of 2-0 after 20 minutes, all of a sudden for them is that we just protect goal difference going into that second leg and set up shop. In which case, either we can pile on more pressure or just take that 2-0 lead, because that pressure can suddenly do funny things. And then, a couple of goals, as much as it's theoretically an advantage to have that second leg at home for the higher place finisher, having that first leg at the MKM does give us that opportunity. If we get goals on the board early, you can really try and kill that tie off straight away. But from a lineup perspective, Dill, is there anything that you'd really change from the side that faced Norwich?
Run it as it is. And I think we were pretty well utilized with the subs that we did. Maybe Bellumi just needs to kick up the arse, but I wonder if he just, his age sort of shows his inexperience with pressure. But other than that, just run it. And that's all I got.
No, nice one. I'd love to get Joseph in there somewhere. Maybe it's a Joseph for Bellumi if there's any doubt over Bellumi's legs, because I guess that's a more interesting element as well. As 3 days between the two legs, you maybe do play a bit of a game in terms of who starts one leg, who starts the other leg. Dan, would you prioritize starting players in this first leg over the second leg, or how would you manage? I'm even thinking someone like Slater. I don't even know if Slater's going to have the legs to start both games.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a thing. I think, realistically, you've probably got to you probably do have to shuffle the first leg lineup a bit so that your second leg isn't massively weakened or whatever, because I just think where we are after a really long and difficult season, that if as you say, it's going to be really tough for any of them really to be playing the back-to-back 90s in such a short turnaround at the end of the 46 games they've already played. So I think maybe I think you're right. Bellumi did look he looked a bit tired. The few games before that he'd been sensational. So I reckon he might be one that you just go, you're going to come off the bench for 20 minutes or half an hour in this one, and you're going to start on Tuesday, and then you maybe just bring Joseph on the right hand side. You've got guys coming back. That's the issue. Is we just don't, in the midfield, we just don't have that many that are fit enough to start. You've got JB's been back on the bench a few times, but hasn't had any minutes. We've got Lundstrom, Brooks, Slater, and Dowell, I guess. And there's just not a lot of depth there. So I reckon of the midfielders, the one I'm probably more concerned about than Slater is probably Crooks, to be honest. I think he's the one that who looks the tiredest of all of the midfielders.
Although, as you were saying, maybe that's just his way.
Yeah.
Oh, I think to an extent it is, but I also think there's been some really lazy, sloppy sort of challenges and some of those sorts of things where you just he's just not at it. But I suppose you're probably going to sit. Gelhardt probably sits in behind, so maybe you give Crooks a rest and Lundstrom starts or something alongside Slater. No.
Is there
I guess the
any
other one
world?
is the Hughes Ajayi or
I'd
Egan
start
Ajayi
Hughes.
situation.
Yeah, maybe it's a good question. Confused by both.
Because when Egan came off, McNair came off.
Yeah,
So
McNair came on.
So is Ajayi injured? Did I miss something there, or is he just not?
I think it's probably just a form thing. I reckon.
Yeah, I know he was pretty poor in that. What was that game?
Charlton game.
Yeah. So,
is there any world where McBurney doesn't start one of the legs and Joseph starts up top? Or no?
Maybe second leg maybe is what I'm thinking.
Maybe depending how the first leg goes, yeah.
Yeah, I could. That's an interesting one.
If there's a hypothetical,
because I like there's two schools of thought here. One is like you go, yeah, he plays the home game and you maybe don't. But the other thing is like if you were needed a lift in the home leg, what would get the crowd lifted to lift more than bringing McBurney on if things weren't going exactly to plan? And Joseph, we know, he scored those 2 early goals at the MKM against Milwall, and so we know he can do it. We know he's capable. That could be, and I think, and McBurney, he ran himself into the ground the other night. He really, really worked so hard and was tracking back, and just doing everything in his power to make sure that we made the playoffs. And I know he's missed a little chunk through injury, but I think he is. He's worked his absolute socks off and basically got almost no reprieve. He's been playing, 90 minutes after 90 minutes after 90 minutes. So
that's what I had in my mind, where I'm he's played every game, 90 minutes getting run into the ground. We know that Joseph did it down at Milwall earlier in the season with McBurney off the bench. And I know you don't want to get too cute in the playoffs. You don't want to sort of, almost, like a Pep Guardiola, overthink things too much and get too cute. But you don't want to run these players into the ground with 2 games in 3 days, 4 days, and then suddenly get to a final where half the team sort of limping into the game because they've kind of busted a gut over that semi-final. I think it's probably going to be massively dependent on the first leg and what sort of margin. If we're trailing after the first leg, I think you just have to start your strongest team again and treat it like the Norwich game, where it's just all the cards on the table and just see how you go. But I mean, there's a world where if we're 2 or 3 goals up after the first leg, you could potentially see McBurney on the bench and Joseph up top, and it's almost like a break glass in case of emergency. Throw McBurney on at half time if Milwall get a couple of quick goals in that second leg.
Yeah, I agree.
So there's a lot of different scenarios to play out, but so maybe I'll throw to you, Deal, with what's your score prediction for or maybe, I don't know, do we want to do just first leg, or how do you think the tie will play out?
Yeah, let's do, maybe first leg. I won't predict the second one just yet. I don't know, I reckon we could go a 3-1.
3-1?
The Tigers win well.
Nice one. I think it's a very common scoreline between the two teams this season, yeah. Dan, what are you thinking?
I want to be way more optimistic than I am, but I just see this actually just being. I think Millwall's come into some really good form lately, and I think we're maybe struggling for some strong form. I actually see this being a 1-1, and then going into a really tense but entertaining second leg.
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, I'm really hoping that our poor form has been because we've been really complacent against, pretty poor sides that we've played over the last 6 games, and that against the Milwall, when we know it's on the line, our game will raise. I'll say that we'll edge it 2-1, and I think that it almost leaves it all to play for in that second leg, gives us a slight advantage, but I think it'll be a very, very tight first leg. But look, we're here. We've got a ticket at the raffle. We can, leave it all on the field this season. It's, huge fun to be part of a playoff campaign. fingers crossed that we've got another podcast next week to preview a playoff final. Would be amazing. Podcast is just sort of, at the behest of the team's fortunes as it goes on. So it's going to be an awesome couple of weeks as we see it all play out. But a massive thanks to both of you for joining me for this one. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Dill.
Thank you.
No worries. Anytime. I'll come back next week to preview the playoff final.
Absolutely.
I'll be there too.
I think, you just sort of be a gathering ball of momentum. We'll get more and more people on as the games go by. But look, thanks everyone for joining as well. We'll be back next week, rain, hail, or shine, no matter what the result, to talk all things City. But until then, come on, City.